What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. Unless this is your first time here, then it's just a welcome to my channel and now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed unless, of course, your taste level is lacking, because it's not me. It's most definitely you. I hope each of you are well. I hope this video finds you well. And if not, I hope it makes you feel a little bit better, somehow, some way, because we are talking about crime here. Y'all, before I get into today's case, I have to tell y'all about this movie I just watched. I recommend that you watch it too. It is called What You Wish For. I think it's on Prime to rent. I'll put a link down below where you can watch it for free, girl. And I can't tell you a whole lot without giving too much away. So I'm gonna need you to trust me. This movie is really good and very interesting. What I can tell you is that the movie is about two chefs. They met in culinary school, and since culinary school, one has become this private chef to very rich, when I say very rich, like disgustingly rich people, and then the other works at the Marriott making a continental breakfast. Okay, they've had two very different careers, and the private chef invites the other chef on one of his jobs to cook for these rich people. Now Mr. Marriott chef is like, oh my god, like, you get to fly out to these beautiful places, you get paid all this money, I wish I had your life. And baby, he essentially gets what he wishes for, but when I tell y'all, it's the wildest ride. And I was paying attention when it first came on, but like when the plot twist drops, when that ball drops about 25 minutes into the film, I literally had to pause it, like wait, and start the movie over and listen to the dialogue between the two chefs all over again. So I'm gonna tell you, when you put it on, pay attention to what is being said between the two. Please trust me, this movie is worth watching. It's crazy. Speaking of movies, this is a perfect segue into today's video. So the opening scene in Jeepers Creepers, where the brother and sister are driving down the highway and they see this tall creature tossing like a body down this chute of a church. This scene is based off of a true story where in April of 1990, a couple is driving down the highway and they spot a man, a very creaturely looking man, hiding this blood-soaked sheet, and then a very terrifying chase ensues after that. It was Easter Sunday the 15th. Ray and Marie Thornton are taking their traditional weekend trip down a Snow Prairie Road, and this highway is like, I think, one lane each way. It's in a very remote type area about 12 miles outside of Coldwater, Michigan. And to make time pass, the couple is playing this game where they have to make a word out of the license plates of the people that pass them, word or phrase. So as this green 1984 Chevrolet van hastily passes by them and continues down the road in a very aggressive manner, driving at a high speed, Marie calls out "Geez" because the license plate started with GZ and her phrase was, "Geez, he must be in a rush." Which is kind of a little jokey joke. The two think nothing more of it. They continue on their way when a couple of miles ahead, they are approaching this old abandoned schoolhouse. This catches Marie's gaze. She's the passenger and she sees this tall man walking toward the back of the school, what appeared to be a bloodstained sheet. And then she notices the green van is parked outside of the school with that license plate that starts with GZ. So they know that this is the maniac that just sped by them a couple miles back. She is very much disturbed, and she and her husband, they decide whether or not, or discuss whether or not they should call the police, if they should just leave it alone. Marie is like, babe, he had a blood-stained sheet. Like, something is going on. He is hiding it for a reason. We need to investigate the situation. Marie is nothing like me. Now, while they're chatting and having this conversation, debating whether or not they should call the police, Ray looks up and notices that the green van is now in his rear view mirror, bolting toward them. Ray mashes the accelerator to get out of the way, but the van is coming, baby. It's coming full speed. It gets all the way up on their bumper, and for 2 miles straight, rides their bumper like a madman. Ray then turns off of the highway on this other road, and at the same time, the van pulls over to the side of the road. Is no longer pursuing them. He's doing his own thing. Ray had just pulled off the road to get out of the way. Now he got to get back on the road and either continue on their path or they can go back and investigate. They decide to go back to the schoolhouse and investigate and see what old boy had taken to the back of the school. Now, once they get up to the Snow Prairie Road, they see that the van is still pulled over. He is outside of the vehicle changing the license plate on his van. The passenger side door to the van is wide open and the interior is covered covered in blood. They go back to the school, and when they get there and poke around a little bit, they find the sheep partially stuffed into an animal hole that wasn't quite big enough to fit the whole thing. And at this point, they decide to call the police, get them involved, report the whole incident. And unbeknownst to them, police are already scouring the area looking for that same man and his injured wife. And that man is 46-year-old Dennis DePue. Did y'all know this? Because I did not. And Jeepers Creepers is one of my favorite movies. That's one of my comfort films. I'll watch it anytime it's on. Just the first one though, because they lost me with the rest of them. Anywho, today we are here to discuss the case of Dennis DePue and his wife, Marilyn. Dennis Henry DePue was born on June 13th of 1943, not it being his birthday month. Shout out to the Geminis. All of them except him and Jeffrey Dahmer and David Berkowitz. Sure, I guess him and a couple. He is born in Michigan, where he is also raised and continues to live as an adult. I couldn't find a whole lot, or I couldn't find anything about his childhood, which I hate because I feel like there has to be some correlation. Something has to connect between their childhood and the person that he had come to be. He gets himself a job working as a property assessor for the state of Michigan. And at the age of 28, he marries Marilyn, who is working as a high school counselor. The couple have 3 children together, 2 girls, and then their youngest is a son. Now, early on, all is well between them. But strangely, over the years, Dennis begins displaying some very troubling behaviors. First of all, he becomes very paranoid about all of the things, right? Marilyn cannot make sense of his paranoia, which gradually causes him to become very controlling because he felt like he knew what was best for the family. He should make all of the decisions. But according to Marilyn, he wanted to make all the decisions, like down to the smallest things, which made her feel like it wasn't coming from a place of protection. It was him just trying to be controlling and assert his dominance. Then Dennis begins to withdraw from the family. He is not attending a lot of the family functions, celebrations. He is hiding out in his bedroom often during holidays. So naturally, over time, there's a divide between him and then Marilyn and the children. But Dennis does not realize that it is his own actions that is causing this divide. And like I said, that paranoia was something serious. In his mind, Marilyn is turning the children against him. She often complains about him to her friends and her family. She says that Dennis is a bully, not only to her, but the children as well. And she just wants to be free of him. But for a while, she is too afraid to initiate a divorce or tell him that she wants a divorce because she's afraid of how he would react. They had married in 1971, but by 1989, after 18 long years with Dennis the Menace, Marilyn is tired. She has had enough and she is ready for their divorce and whatever is coming with it. Things between her and Dennis were very clearly beyond the possibility of reconcile. Everybody in the house is uncomfortable. Her, the children, their company when they have it, probably the dog if they had one. Their divorce is finalized in December that same year. Dennis hadn't contested anything, and Marilyn had gotten to remain in the marital home with the children. And as far as those children go, Dennis is granted bi-weekly visitation. Just as Marilyn has suspected, Dennis was not happy with the divorce at all, and he holds a lot of resentment for Marilyn because in his mind, she has broken up the family. It didn't make sense for them to get divorced, but the divorce goes rather smooth, and he doesn't put up much of a fight for anything that she requests, which Mary is surprised that he had not taken his opportunity to make the process more difficult for her. Now, she was very gracious because the guest house behind their main house, Dennis had always worked out of as his office space. She is allowing him to continue to do so, but because she is fearful of her husband, she still does not trust him. She decides to change all of the locks in the main house. So you can imagine her surprise and how startled she is when she and the children return home one day and there's Dennis sitting inside of her living room on her couch. This, of course, frightens her because she was already fearful of him. And then I come home and you done broke in, essentially. She tells a couple of her friends and family members about the incident and how Dennis just does not want to respect boundaries. And if he can come in while she is gone, she fears that he might come in one day while she is there in the middle of the night and do who knows what. In the first few months of them being divorced and living in two separate households, the children grow to hate going and visiting their father. Mary does want them to have a healthy relationship with him. She doesn't stand in the way of the visitation. She tries to, adhere to the schedule, but the kids just don't want to go. They always put up a fuss and a fight. And come Easter weekend of 1990, about 4 months into their divorce, things come to a head. Their oldest daughter, Jennifer, is 18. She has decided she's grown. She does not have to go or should not have to go to visit her father if she doesn't want to. They pretty much agree. At this point, she's an adult, so she is not going. Dennis arrives to pick up the younger two, Julie, who is 16, and Scott, who's 13. And neither of them want to go, but they really don't have a choice in the matter. He is outside with the youngest, Scott, and Scott is refusing to get in that van. He does not want to go. He is refusing. He's telling his father, I'm not going. He runs back into the house. Dennis follows Scott back into the house and is continuing to argue with him that he needs to come. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. He is becoming very upset. So at this point, Marilyn steps in and tries to diffuse the situation. But in doing so, she tells him, like, maybe we should listen to what the kids want, because at this point, Julie also has made it clear that she doesn't want to go either. With them being 16 and 13, Marilyn's stance is we should probably listen to what the kids want. But Dennis does not agree. He does not feel like they should be listening to the kids regardless of how close to 18 they may be. Marilyn offering this as her stance only adds fuel to the fire. He is already feeling a way toward her, and her suggesting that they should listen to the children that don't want to go with him, the children that he already believes she is turning against him, only makes him angrier. Dennis grabs Marilyn and just throws her down the stairs. The children are watching, they're horrified, and he goes down to the bottom of the stairs where she is laying and proceeds to beat her. Now, Jennifer, the oldest daughter, runs to the neighbor's house to call the police, and while she is gone to do that, Dennis picks up Marilyn, who is half out of it. She's like staring in a daze. She's very badly hurt. Julie is calling her name, but she's not even like acknowledging Julie. She's just staring blankly, and she's not walking on her own. Dennis is like holding her up and dragging her out of the house toward his van. He puts her inside. He tells the two younger children that he is going to take her to the hospital and everything is going to be okay. Jennifer has called the police, and when they arrive, because Dennis has said this, they decide to check the local hospitals to see if they had checked in. But there is no record of the DePues at any of the local hospitals, urgent care, none of it. A manhunt ensues with police not knowing where this man could be headed. They don't even know where to begin to look for him if he has never checked into the hospital. And that is until they get the phone call from the Thorntons, who had encountered him on the road discarding evidence and driving like a madman. A forensics team is sent out down to the old schoolhouse to check it out, and once they discover the sheet, they tape off the whole area because it's now a crime scene. Given the amount of blood found on the sheet and how much blood the Thorntons say that they saw inside of the van, investigators know that the chances of Marilyn still being alive right now are slim to none. And her ill fate is confirmed the following day when she is discovered laying alongside a deserted road about halfway between her home and the school. She had been shot once in the back of the head. And now a full 24 hours later, they still have not located Dennis. Then several days later, a family member of Dennis receives a letter from him in the mail. It is a long, manic rant justifying what he had done to Marilyn. And then a friend of his receives a letter from him, essentially the same type of letter. It's very all over the place. It just goes on and on, ranting, blaming Marilyn for turning their kids against him, pretty much saying that he had no choice but to do what he did. And then another family member receives a letter, and another friend, and it just goes on and on. All of the letters are extremely similar. In the first couple weeks of Dennis being on the run, he sends a total of 17 letters to different friends and relatives explaining himself. Now, a quote, an excerpt from one of the letters reads, Marilyn had many opportunities to treat me fairly during this divorce, and she chose to string it out to trick me, to lie to me. And when you lose your wife, children, and home, there's not much left. I was too old to start over. So that there is his justification for everything that has transpired. For a while, the letter stopped, but 3 months after the incident, he sends out another one, and this one is 13 pages long. He doesn't really say anything new. There's a lot of rambling, a lot of regurgitating all of the other things he'd already said. Bible verses make up a huge portion of the letter. He has sprinkled quotes from the Bible all throughout the letter, things that he has cherry picked that appear to validate or support the things that he's saying. The family member this letter is sent to, of course, they turn it over to police, who are still unable to locate him. And these letters are postmarked from all over the place: Iowa, Virginia, Oklahoma. This man is clearly on the move, y'all. He is a moving target, and they don't know where he might be or where he is going next. 8 more months passed without another word from him, and them still being unable to find him. And then on the evening of March 20th of 1991, 11 months after that had happened, at roughly 8:30 p.m., a woman who we're gonna call Deborah, that lives in Dallas, Texas, she arrives home where she lives with her boyfriend, and the first thing she notices is that Henry's vehicle is in the driveway. Henry never parks in the driveway. He is always adamant about his vehicle being inside the garage at all times. So this strikes her as unusual because, Henry, why is your car in the driveway like this? I said his name was Henry. It was Hank. I'm sorry. She goes inside to greet her boyfriend, Hank. And Hank is a little bit riled up. He greets her, but he tells her that he needs to make an emergency trip right now to go see his mother, who is very ill and needs him by her side. Briefly, Deborah turns her attention to the episode of Unsolved Mysteries that is playing on the television, but not long enough. Hank asks her to make him some sandwiches for his trip because he's going to drive there, and his sense of urgency ignites urgency within her, so she hastily goes to the kitchen to make his food, pack him up something to drink so her man can drive to be with his mother without having to stop anywhere and find him something to eat. Meanwhile, Hank is grabbing clothes and a couple of his other personal items, throwing them into a bag so he can hurry up and get on his way. When he has everything he needs, she walks him out to his vehicle. He kisses her goodbye, and something about it just didn't feel right to Deborah. She has this feeling that something else is going on, and oddly, she is not even sure that she'll be seeing Hank again. That goodbye just felt a little permanent. She stands outside of her house and watches Hank drive off in his 1984 green Chevrolet van, not knowing that her boyfriend Hank is really Dennis DePue. And that episode of Unsolved Mysteries that was playing on the TV was featuring him for the murder of his ex-wife just 11 months ago. And she was right, baby. She would not be seeing him again because he was headed back out on the run. She finds out later on in the night who Hank really was. And Hank, well, Dennis, he had really liked Deborah. He really settled down in this life in Dallas, Texas, and was having a good time. He had met several of Deborah's friends, her family members. But once he saw himself on that television screen, he knew that he could not stay there. He knew it was only a matter of time, like minutes, hours at the most, before somebody blew his cover. If she had not seen the episode, surely one of her friends or family members or co-workers would have seen the episode. And they did. Not only did somebody recognize him and call her, somebody also called the tip line. When they reach out to Deborah, she confirms what the tipster had told them and also is able to provide his current license plate. She also lets them know that unfortunately he is a step ahead of them and he is already taken off. Authorities then decide to put the authorities in the surrounding states on notice. Watch out for this van, this license plate. The man is potentially armed and dangerous. Frantically, Dennis drives into Louisiana where state troopers had already been put on notice. When he nears the Mississippi state line, he is spotted by one of the state troopers of Louisiana and they attempt to pull him over, but he does not simply stop. Instead, he takes them on a high-speed chase that spans 15 miles and crosses over into Mississippi. Now, Mississippi state troopers, they had already been put on notice. They had set up a roadblock and were waiting for him. But Dennis drives full speed through the barricade. At this point, they are given instruction to shoot out his front tires to stop him, but they end up hitting the back too, which enables him to keep going for a little bit. The car drags down the road for about a half a mile before it comes to a stop. Dennis shoots toward the police officer cars. And it has been a long night. At this point, it's 4 a.m. when they finally get his car to stop. As one of the officers is approaching his vehicle, Dennis lets off one final shot, and it is self-inflicted and fatal. All of this because the kids did not want to come down to Easter. Child, Jesus is not pleased. Dennis is subsequently buried at Eagles Cemetery in LaGrange County, Indiana, and I doubt anybody is visiting him. Unfortunately, the 3 children they left behind lost both of their parents essentially in the same day, all for nothing, because Dennis just could not take the fact that Maryland did not want him anymore. You know what's interesting? Genetics. Because I saw all 3 of the kids, and despite how their daddy looked, they were good looking children. That is it for this video. Let me know your comments down below. Let's collectively drag Dennis. He deserves it, even in the afterlife. Like the video before you leave. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. As for the next one, I'm not sure at this point if there will be a Sunday vlog this week for the garden. It's not a whole lot going on out there. I'll be harvesting the same stuff I've been harvesting. I don't know. It depends. If something come up, if there's something worth showing, then I will. If that changes, y'all will see me on Sunday, but I'm not sure that's gonna change. All right, y'all. Bye. They've lived two very different. I can't talk. Ray looks up and notices that the green van is now in his peripheral. Not his peripheral. What am I talking about, girl? Between the childhood and the person he became to be. He became to be? He came to be. He marries a woman. He marries Maryland. Account. Child marries Maryland is really eating me. A manhunt ensues. Police send out a forensics team down to the school where, and on the evening of March 24th, it is not March 24th, baby.